Hello, my name is Sean Clark, and I'm about to do my oral presentation on the social learning theory. In this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about social learning theory and how it affects people. We have heard the expression, if you watch too much TV, it can influence you in a negative way. I know that I love TV because it's what I do for a living, and I love watching it, I love making it. It can have a bad effect on certain people, that's for sure, because what they see, they tend to believe. It also can have a positive effect by learning how to play guitar or maybe something in history. During this presentation, we will look at social learning theory, learning about all the ins and outs of it. Social learning theory, by definition, is the learning in a cognitive process that takes place in a social context and can occur purely through observation. Now, that's a mouthful. So what does it tell us? What it does tell us is that people learn through watching and observation. So I know some people watch Fox News on the daily and they watch it all day long. They are influenced in one way of their politics. And I'm not saying that that's wrong or right. I'm just saying that they're influenced by Fox News. Now, if you watched MSNBC all day, I'm sure you'd be influenced in a different direction. My wife, she will not watch the nightly news due to the negative influence that it has on her mood after she comes home from work. The man that discovered this theory is Albert Bandura. In our book, Applied Mass Communication Theory, it said, Bandura observed that not all learning can be directly experienced, that learning comes from a variety of sources. This led him to see what other influences were playing a part in how people learned. Bandura found out that mass media was playing a huge role on people and them being influenced. This, I believe, is a true statement. When I worked in the media, I saw how people acted around reporters, as if they were rock stars. People would ask them questions as if they were experts in certain fields. Just because they did a story about the stormwater problems doesn't make them a stormwater expert. Sometimes social learning theory can play a positive influence on how we do things. When we talk about children and how they learn to tie their shoes or walk for the first time, they do this by watching others. I know that there are plenty of people that saw famous singers when they were kids and said, you know what, I'm going to be them when I grow up. My son is only 18 months old, and I can already see the influence that daycare has on him. In many positive regards, he's becoming more verbal, he's becoming more active, and he's talking to other students. We're also seeing this happen right now with gun violence in our nation. The conversation has been opened up due to the negative light that the mass media has put on it. It is allowed for open conversation about gun violence. The negative side of this influence is we become numb to what we're being told to us. My example of that is the Gulf War. I remember when I was in the news, we did that story and it was the lead story every night. Well, after a while, it became further and further back in the news. It actually ended up after weather. This numb effect that we get used to with the news can sometimes be a negative to us paying attention to what's going on in the outside world. A story that is in the media now that shows how mass media can influence people is the shooter in Oregon that went into the college and killed other students. In the article written by the Washington Post, the shooter, Chris Mercer, said, "Seems the more people you kill, the more you're in the limelight." This is because he felt like a loner and found that the only way to get people to notice him was to do something like this heinous act. He was heavily into others that have done this act prior to him and noticed how much attention they had received. He got his influence from the mass media and solo video game shooter games. This type of person is going to be in our society and is going to always have this problem. Social learning theory can lead to bigger problems if not controlled and understood. The media has to play a bigger role in their responsibility of social learning theory, understanding that when they put things out there, people learn from that and can learn from that. Us as a society need to understand what social learning theory can do to people and have a better grasp of that. That is my oral presentation on social learning theory. I hope you learned something.